Cookbook friends. This is your host, Katie, and I have Carrie with me here today.
Hello.
We would like to talk about Earth Day and cookbooks that can help celebrate Earth Day. We have curated a variety of cookbooks like foraging, gardening, sustainability, all kinds of stuff. Do you do anything for Earth Day, Carrie?
I used to when I lived in San Diego. There would be Earth Day, just big festivals in the park, and all the hippies would come out, and the Hare Krishnas would serve us like macrobiotic burritos that are the best thing I've ever tasted. And there'd be music in the park and all this. And now that I'm in Seattle, it usually rains on Earth Day, so we don't really have that big, So yeah. I do not do anything for Earth Day, but I honestly should probably celebrate by walking through the neighborhood picking up trash. Because we have some, and it makes me mad.
That is something that my stepdad and I used to do. I don't even think it was just for Earth Day. That was just something we would go out and do because
we're trash pickers.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah. So I try to actually tend to my yard, especially after redoing everything and watering it and weeding and giving my plants food. But yeah, I also try to enjoy the weather too. But yeah, Pacific Northwest, it's usually raining. It's going to be sunny like all week, and then it's going to be pouring on Earth Day. Yay!
Yeah, just to punish us. Yeah.
Food for the earth.
We're going to enjoy it while we can, and I definitely want to get out there and sweep off my deck and hose off the outdoor furniture and get it ready. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So what kind of cookbook are you going to kick us off with today?
Well, I discovered this adorable book that reminds me that I'm an aunt that misses my nieces and nephews that we haven't seen much because of the pandemic. It's called Foraging with Kids, 52 Wild and Free Edibles to Enjoy with Your Children by Adele Nozadar. And I'm laughing because here you're out picking trash and I'm out picking free food. I swear, people, we make a good living. We're not poor. It's okay. Don't judge us. This cookbook doesn't have any color photographs inside, but it has black and white illustrations of the fruit and berries and flowers and botanical things and even some mushrooms like chicken of the woods, which I'm really nervous to pick random mushrooms, but chicken of the woods is definitely easy to identify. It's obvious what it is. There's something this book is talking about cauliflower fungi cheese. I'm kind of frightened. I don't think I'm going to make this recipe. But, okay.
I'd be interested in what that tastes like. I'd be interested. I would try it. Definitely. I would try it for sure.
I'm going to peek at the table of contents. Oh. Okay, yeah. They teach you how to do safe foraging, the name of plants, getting to know plants, seasonal calendar, how to go foraging, and I do live right by a big set of woods. Mm-hmm. The first section is fruit, berries, and flowers. And, of course, not all of these would be in everyone's neighborhood because I don't think we have hawthorn and rowan here in Seattle, but we do have roses. The second chapter is wild herbs and weeds. And dandelions, I don't need to forage. They're right on my lawn.
Mm-hmm. Right? Exactly.
A chapter on fungi, a chapter on garlic, onion, and mustard, and plants that smell and taste like those things. And trees. Okay, we definitely have a lot of Douglas firs in my backyard. And then coastal plants, like things I've never heard of, bladder wrack. Well, my bladder is often racked, but, excuse me, that's a personal problem. There's something called laver or laver, and something called dulse, and rock samphire, and sea beet or sea spinach. Wow. Interesting. So if you find a fantasy in your brain of taking some little baskets with children and tromping through the woods and pastures foraging for things to eat, you're going to love this book, Foraging with Kids, 52 Wild and Free Edibles to Enjoy with Your Children by Adele Nozadar.
That sounds really cute. The cookbook on my list is #Meatless, Good for Animals, the Earth, and All by Jane Goodall. It came out March 23rd. I've already talked about this, but I love this. I love this cookbook. It is so awesome. So there are 80 vegan accessible recipes in here. One of my favorite parts about this cookbook is that she acknowledges that a lot of people like to, when they think about vegan or vegetarian or plant-based, that it's going to be this huge upheaval in their life, and it's this huge thing, but it doesn't have to be. And that's
Yeah.
what her cookbook is trying to accomplish, is that it doesn't have to be hard. It can be super easy. It's accessible and awesome for all of us. And for the animals. This particular, I didn't want to fill this episode full of plant-based cookbooks, but this one I wanted because this is specifically about saving animals, and that's kind of her message, is that the more plant-based we go, the more we're actually kind of saving the animals and the planet, and we're also eating healthy. But the recipes in here, the photos are stunning and very vibrant and very colorful. Everything looks super appetizing. The one I keep going to is her cauliflower pumpkin seed tacos.
Oh,
First,
yum.
It's tacos, but oh,
Tacos.
wow. Yeah, these look beautiful and so good. And I don't know, I always think sometimes, now that I've gone more vegan, I'm realizing like everything I've known about veganism is wrong. These look super filling and just ultra delicious. She also has a recipe in here that looks awesome. It's a strawberry quote unquote cheese cake. So it's actually made with tofu. I've never actually tried a vegan cheese cake before.
I have. The flavor was good. The texture left a little bit of desire, but it didn't poison me.
Right. Yes. That's good. You're still here. So yeah, there's all kinds of recipes in here if you're interested in eating less meat. This isn't a preachy plant-based book, so if you still want to incorporate, your favorite cheeses and meats, like, you can. It's a way to start being a little more mindful and learning how to cook a little bit differently. So that is #meatless, good for animals, the earth, and all by Jane Goodall.
My next book is Sprouts, Shoots, and Microgreens, Tiny Plants to Grow and Eat in Your Home Kitchen. I love this idea. It comes out on April 20, just in time for Earth Day. It's by Lena Valentinson, and Lennart Weibel is the photographer, and Gun Penhode is the translator. I'm not sure what language it originally was in. But they teach you how to grow and consume sprouts and shoots and microgreens at home. You can use tap water and a glass jar. It's that simple. Or you can use colanders, sieves, or bags, and you can use all sorts of different kinds of light sources, which is important here in Seattle when we don't have a lot of sunlight in our kitchens all the time. I don't personally eat a lot of microgreens in my salad, and part of that is whenever I buy them, they rot before I can use them. So I'd like to learn how to do that better, because they definitely taste good and they're good for you. Some of the recipes in here I already know how to make, like sushi rolls, which I make vegetarian, but these use quinoa and wasabi mayonnaise. There's baked pumpkin with lentil sprouts, and almond pesto, and coconut balls with toasted buckwheat, etc. And I'm going to peek inside the table of contents, courtesy of Amazon. And there is no table. Oh, yes, there it is. Introduction, Homegrown in a Flash, From Miracle Food to Viable War Ration, A History of Sprouting. And Katie, have you ever accidentally sprouted beans that you're soaking overnight and you forget about them, not because you were drinking, but you leave them on the stove a few days and come back and go, whoops!
I actually have, yes. Mung beans, yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's
surprising.
fun. Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
The second part of the book is sprout profiles and recipes using sprouts, and then they move on to shoots and microgreens. They do shoot profiles and recipes for those. So if you are into that kind of thing and growing green things, tasty things in your kitchen like I am, this is Sprouts, Shoots, and Microgreens, Tiny Plants to Grow and Eat in Your Home Kitchen by Lena Valentinson.
Cute. My next book is Herb, a Cook's Companion. It comes out April 13 of this year. It's by Mark Diacano. Sorry, jumble of words today. So this cookbook is really interesting. It has 70 recipes. I really like this because I've always, like, since the dawn of time, I've wanted to have my own herb garden, like a very comprehensive herb garden, not just, here's some rosemary. So I really like this because Mark Diacano is a very respected chef. He's award winning and he knows his stuff. He also did another cookbook called Sour that was nominated for a James Beard Award. So this goes into detail about the herb, like each herb, the flavor, the texture, how you can use it, what other herbs you can use it with, what flavor profiles work with what. And I think that's really important because I do it too. I mix things up all the time, or I'm just like, oh, this might be good with this, and then it's a mess. So basically, in the table of contents, he goes through an introduction. He talks about herb skills. So he goes from herb skills in the garden and then in the kitchen, and learning how to infuse things. So those are 3 separate chapters in there. He talks about what herbs you should grow and eat simultaneously, and then we move on to recipes, which are then divided into infusions, blends, and sauces. I love sauces. So, and the herbs and sauces are, it's like macaroni and cheese. Perfect. Herbs and sauces are perfect. He also has a small things, soups, and sides chapter, bigger things, sweet things, and drinks. So it's all encompassing. You can get a full meal and learn all about the herbs that you're growing in your garden and not have to go to the grocery store and, buy these things. Or you can learn how to dry them and make vinegars or oils with them. You could freeze them. So there's all kinds of things you can do with this cookbook that's more than just recipes. And I just really appreciate it. I think it's really cool,
I hope there's some recipes for mint. I feel like mint is the zucchini of the herb garden. You plant a couple and then you're like, oh no, it's taking over and I'm tired of eating zucchini every day. And I even cook zucchini with mint just to try and use them both up. Help. And there's only so many mojitos you can drink in a day before they call the authorities. I mean, honestly.
It's so true. I was actually worried about my mint I started growing mint last year, and I thought we only had 1 sprout in the summer, and I was like, I heard mint's a weed. It's basically a weed. Why isn't there more mint? And now, oh man, I've got so much mint now, and I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do with all this mint? So yeah, it's true. But there's so many. That's why this cookbook's so cool, because there's so many different ways of using these herbs and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to it.
We could make almond mint pesto and make dessert pasta with it.
Oh my god. I don't know.
I don't know. Might work.
We could put ice cream through a noodle,
yes! A noodle extractor.
You just sift it through. Okay. Nobody gets to take that idea until we try it, Carrie. That's our idea. Okay, that is Herb, A Cook's Companion. It is by Mark Diacono.
My next Earth Day cookbook recommendation is Forage, Wild Plants to Gather and Eat by Liz Knight. It came out in March, on March 23. Another foraging book. I guess I just like foraging. There's 50 globally populated edible plants, so you might have access to them in your neck of the woods. There's a variety of recipes that utilize the herbs from your garden, and they let you have some quick recipes and some more complex, depending on your skill level or time or patience. There's lots of illustrations. I'm not sure if there's photography, because there's an illustrator named Rachel Petter-Smith that worked on it, and she puts botanical illustrations, so when you're foraging, you know what you're picking up and what you're doing. And we learn about the culture and history of our wild food. And I might have to check this out from the library. I'm not sure I'd want to keep it on my bookshelf forever, because my bookshelves are so limited. But for those of you that are super into foraging, that's Forage, Wild Plants to Gather and Eat by Liz Knight.
Moving on to more sustainable cookbooks, my last cookbook actually for Earth Day is the Zero Waste Chef, Plant Forward Recipes and Tips for a Sustainable Kitchen and Planet. It came out April 13, 2021. It's by Anne-Marie Banu. So she's the @Zero Waste Chef. She's got an Instagram, and I believe she has her own website that talks about sustainability and basically trying to use literally everything for, we talk about asparagus tips and stuff, or like celery, the ends of celery. Like, she uses everything so that there's no waste in her kitchen. And she started, I believe, in 2006, so she's doing this for a really long time. So we learn how to cook with scraps. We can create like fermented staples. We can basically up all of the groceries before they become actual waste. So that's really cool, and it takes some time, obviously, for that to happen, and she acknowledges that in her book as well. So I'm trying to think I'm trying to see how many actual recipes are in here. I know there's quite a few recipes in here, but you can actually see if you want to try some of these. You can try a few of these on her website. There's a few that look really interesting. She's got like a Mexican hot chocolate bread pudding that sounds interesting. She says you can try to revive some sad greens to make a pesto. Which, yeah, that's a great idea. Pesto's great, like, for everything. Just
especially mint pesto. I'm still back on my mint
and
pesto
ice cream. Right?
I'm determined.
Yeah. Okay, so it is 75 vegan and vegetarian recipes in total that utilize all of the parts of everything, basically. So if you're interested in sustainability and learning how to basically produce no waste and starting that journey, I highly recommend the Zero Waste Chef, Plant Forward Recipes and Tips for a Sustainable Kitchen and Planet by Anne-Marie Banu.
I also have a zero waste book to talk about. Not to copy you.
Yay!
Zero Waste, 60 Recipes for a Waste-Free Kitchen by Cynthia Trenchy. It came out on April 6, 2021. And she encourages us to reduce food waste in the kitchen. We learn how to save, we're grocery shopping too, and transform peels and leaves and crusts and pods into creative and tasty recipes. And pods. I need to work on this because I should not even buy avocados anymore because they go rotten before we can use them. And she teaches us, just like in the other book, to use parts of each ingredient, including asparagus ends, dried fruit skins, which I never think of using, but I eat my apple skins and I eat my potato skins.
Yeah.
She has a beautiful picture of an asparagus ends omelet. I just wonder how long you have to cook them to make them not so tough.
Right.
She makes a carrot top pesto and a cheese and dried vegetable crepe. Or crepe, as Americans would say, fruit and almond buns, and a grapefruit and chocolate muffins that uses, apparently, I'm trying to figure out what she uses for that, banana skins. What?
Whoa.
I didn't know those were edible.
Wow.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So that is Zero Waste, 60 Recipes for a Waste-Free Kitchen by Cynthia Trenchy. Thank you for listening to this Earth Day edition of the Cookbook Divas podcast minisode. And Katie, what days do we publish our Cookbook Divas main episodes?
We publish on Fridays.
And occasionally we come up with cool ideas for minisodes, and we try to publish them on Tuesdays, but sometimes we just get a whim and we want you to know about all the cool stuff as fast as possible. Now, if you would like to see my cookbook reels, where I flip through a cookbook quickly to give you a sneak preview, you can see those on Instagram. If you'd like to watch my cookbook reviews, where I go through in detail the cookbooks, you can find those on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And we also have a website, cookbookdivas.com, where Katie writes awesome blog posts about all the cookbooks that we're experiencing and exploring right now. Thanks so much for listening.